All right, we're going to read this section of the Upanishads, which is a story, Death as the Teacher. All right, so read us this story here, son. We're going to start at this section here, part 1.
So once long ago, Vajrasravasa gave away his possessions to gain religious merits.
So this man, Vajrasravasa, in ancient India, gave away his material possessions in search of wisdom.
He had a son named Nachiketa, who, though only a boy, was full of faith in the scriptures. Nachiketa thought, when the offerings were made, what merit can one obtain by giving away cows that are too old to give milk?
So Nachiketa asked his father, like, what is the point in these religious rituals? Like, what are you gaining by, giving away cows that are too old to give milk, sacrificing these things to your God that you believe in? It's kind of like a child asking the parent, where is this mysterious God you're praying to, right?
Right.
So how did his father respond?
To help his father understand this, Nachiketa said, "To whom will you offer me?" He asked this again and again.
Right. So the boy said to his father, who are you going to offer me to? Like, what God are you going to give me to? I'm your son, right? What did his father say?
To death I give you, said his father in anger.
So the father was irritated, angry, and said, I give you to death. To death I give you. Because he doesn't like the boy questioning him. All right, go ahead.
The son thought, I go the first of many who will die in the midst of many who are dying on a mission to Yama, king of death.
Right, so the son decided, I'm going to go forth and I'm going to go, actually, since you said that, Dad, since you said that, Father, I'm going to go out and meet death. And I'm going to see what death teaches me. Since the father in anger said to him, I give you to death. The boy was like, okay, since I'll be the first of many who will die, because everyone's destined to die. The boy's like, since my dad said that to me in anger, I'll go out and meet death. And what is death's name in this story?
Yama,
right,
which is Indian for death.
The king of death.
Yes.
Right, the ancient words. All right, go ahead.
See how it was with those who came before. How will it be with those who are living?
Right.
Like corn, mortals ripen and fall, like corn, they come up again.
Like corn, mortals ripen and fall. They come up again. It's an ongoing cycle. It's a process. All right, keep going.
Nachiketa went to Yama's abode, but the king of death was not there. He waited 3 days. When Yama returned, he heard a voice say, when a spiritual guest enters the house like a bright flame, he must be received well with water to wash his feet. Far from wise are those who are not hospitable.
Far from wise are those who are not hospitable to such a guest. Right.
They will lose all their hopes, the religious merits they have acquired, their sons and their cattle. Yama, oh, spiritual guest, I grant you 3 boons.
Right, a boon is like a gift, a banquet. Something I'm going to give you. So the boy came to meet death, whose name is Yama. Right, it's kind of like the Grim Reaper, but he's like the angel of death. It's a positive way of looking at it, right?
Yeah.
And Yama is saying to the boy, since I wasn't here to be hospitable to you, you came when my abode was empty, I'll grant you 3 boons, right? 3 gifts.
To atone for the 3 inhospitable nights you have spent in my abode, ask for 3 boons, 1 for each night.
So 3 boons I'll grant you. Go ahead and ask for 3 things you want. And then what did Nachiketa say to death?
He said, O king of death, as the first of these boons, grant that my father's anger be appeased, so he may recognize me when I return and receive me with love. Right,
so he wants to make amends with his father. That's the first boon he's asking for, from death.
Yep. I grant that your father, the son of Udulaka?
It's an Indian name.
And Aruna?
Those are Nachiketa's parents, his mom and dad.
Okay. Will love you as in the past. When he sees when he sees you released from the jaws of death, he will sleep again with the mind at peace. There is no fear at all in heaven, so you are not there, neither old age nor death. Passing beyond hunger and thirst and pain, all rejoice in the kingdom of heaven,
which is the highest realm, right? Above the physical realm is the astral realm. Above the astral realm is the causal realm. Above the causal realm is the mental realm. Above the mental realm is the ethereal realm. Above the ethereal realm is the soul plane, which is the highest realm, where there is no thirst or pain.
Yes.
Right? Nor old age, nor what we see of as death in the human world, which is the lowest realm, the physical.
Yes.
Okay.
You know the fire sacrifice that leads to heaven. O King of Death, I have full faith in you and ask for instructions. Let this be your second boon to me.
Right, so the second boon is the boy wants to know what is the fire sacrifice that leads to heaven. It takes a fire sacrifice to get to the highest heaven. Read on. What does Yama say? What does death say?
Yama says, yes, I do, Nachiketa, and shall teach you the fire sacrifice that leads to heaven and sustains the world, that knowledge concealed in the heart. Now listen, right. So fire is the element of change. Fire is combustible energy that brings about change. It's also creation, because the destruction of something is also the creation of something. Yes. So fire is not just what we typically think of as fire on a 3D material level. So fire is not just what you see on the stove when you turn on the stove, or when you strike a match, or what you see in the fireplace. That's only one type of physical 3D material expression of what fire is. Fire is combustible energy, which brings about change. Like when you see 3D material fire, like in the fireplace or on the stovetop, that's like carbon and nitrogen and oxygen combusting, and it's bringing on some kind of change. So this world is on fire right now. Serious change is taking place, right? Such change needs to take place in order to sustain the world, right? Okay, yes.
Then what does he say? Read on.
The narrator says, then the King of Death taught Nachiketa how to perform the fire sacrifice, how to erect the altar for worshiping the fire from which the universe evolves.
The fire from which the universe evolves. The constant change and transformation, which is death. Death is change and transformation, which is fire from which the universe evolves. Okay.
When the boy repeated his instruction, the dread King of Death was pleased and said, let me give you a special boon. The sacrifice shall be called by your name, Nachiketa. Accept from me this many-hued chain too. Those who have thrice performed this sacrifice realize their unity with father, mother, and teacher, and discharge the three duties of studying the scriptures, ritual worship, and giving alms to those in need.
Right, so those are the three basic religious duties: studying the scriptures, ritual worship, and giving charity. Right? Now, religion is spiritual kindergarten for those who are not ready for higher level metaphysics.
Yes.
Right? So if you need spiritual kindergarten, which some do, these are three basic things which can get you to heaven. You know, and now people who are practicing religion, they're taught things in parables.
Yes.
Like Moses, Jesus, Solomon, they're not historical people that actually existed, but it's giving you a story that gives you a parable of wisdom. And that's the prescription or the medicine for people who need religion.
Yes.
So it is a good thing for some people, right?
Right.
And he gave him the many-hued chain.
Hued chain.
Hued, that means colors. Hue means color, which is the chakras, the kundalini. Read.
Rise above birth and death, knowing the God of fire born of Brahman, they attain perfect peace.
Right, rise above birth and death. So you have to identify above the ego, because the ego is something transient that passes.
Yep.
Right, knowing the God of fire, the God of change, born of Brahman, that's how you attain perfect peace. Go ahead.
Those who carry out this triple duty conscious of all its full meaning will shake off the dread news of death and transcend sorrow.
Transcend sorrow.
Transcend to enjoy the world of heaven,
the highest realm.
Thus have I granted you the second boon, Nachiketa, the secret of the fire that leads to heaven. It will have your name, Ask now, Nachiketa, for the third boon.
Right, so what is the third gift, the third boon that Nachiketa is going to ask death for?
It says, when a person dies, there arises this doubt. He still exists. Some say he does not.
So Nachiketa wants to know, here, the third boon, I want to know, when someone dies, what's the truth? What's the deal? Does he still exist? Does he not exist?
Yeah. Say others, I want to teach me the truth. This is my third boon.
So what does Yama say?
This doubt haunted even the gods of old.
So even the gods of old didn't know this truth about death.
For the secret of death is hard to know. Nachiketa, ask for some other boon and release me from my promise.
So death is telling Nachiketa, I know I told you I promised you 3 boons, but this third one you're asking for, I don't know if I can give this to you. Like, it's like I can give you other things, but the knowledge of the secret of death, I don't know if I can give that to you. All right, so what does Nachiketa say?
He says, this doubt haunted even the gods of old. For it is hard to know, O death, as you say, I can have no greater teacher than you, and there's no boon equal to this.
Then what does Yama say?
Yama says, ask for some sons and grandsons who will live 100 years. Ask for herds of cattle, elephants, and horses, gold, and vast lands, and ask to live as long as you desire. Or if you can think of anything more desirable, ask for that. With wealth and long life as well, Nachiketa, be the ruler of a great kingdom, and I will give you the utmost capacity to enjoy the pleasures of life. Ask for beautiful women of loveliness rarely seen on earth. Riding in chariots, skilled in music to attend on you, but Nachiketa, don't ask me about the secret of death.
So he told him, like, I'll give you riches, wealth, sons, grandsons, long life, all of the beautiful women you could ever desire. I can give you that, but the secret of death, don't ask me for that.
Nope.
Like, and remember, his dad yelled at him and sent him off.
Yep.
To go study this.
He says, this pleasure lasts but until tomorrow, and they were out of the vital powers on life. How fleeting is all life on earth. Therefore keep your horses and chariots, dancing and music for yourself. Never can mortals be made happy by wealth. How can we be desirous of wealth when we see your face and know we cannot live while you are here? This is the boon I choose and ask you for, having approached an immortal like you.
So Nachiketa is saying to death, like, we all know, death, that you're here and that you're going to take us all. How can we enjoy the pleasures of life? This is the third boon that I ask you for.
The third boon.
Okay.
How can I, subject to old age and death, ever try to rejoice in a long life? For the sake of the senses, fleeting pleasures, dispel this doubt of mine, O King of Death. Does a person live after death, or does he not? Nachiketa asked for no other boon than the secret of this great mystery.
Right. So he wants to know the secret of this great mystery. All right. So now this is death speaking. What does he say?
He says, the joy of the spirit ever abides.
Abides.
But
you see?
But not what seems pleasant to the senses. Both these, differing in their purpose, prompt us to action. All is well for those who choose the joy of the spirits, but they miss the goal of life who prefer the pleasant. Perennial joy or passing pleasure, this is the choice one is to make always. Those who are wise recognize this, but not the ignorant.
Right.
The first welcome what leads to abiding joy, though painful at the time. The latter run goaded by their senses, after what seems immediate pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Have you renounced these passing pleasures so dear to the senses, Nachiketa, and turned your back on the way of the world that makes mankind forget the goal of life?
Right, so he's saying, are you able to, or have you thought about renouncing these transient things of the 3D material world, these transient sense perceptions?
Yes.
All right.
Far apart are wisdom and ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
The first leads one to self-realization. The second makes one more and more estranged from one's real self. I regard you, Nachiketa, as worthy of instruction, for passing pleasures tempt you not at all.
Right.
Ignorance of their ignorance, yet wise in their own esteem. Those deluded men, proud of their vain learning, go around and round like the blind led by the blind, far beyond their eyes, hypnotized by the world of sense, opens the way to immortality. I am my body. When my body dies, I die.
This is the ignorant thinking. I am my body. When my body dies, I die. They identify with the ego. They identify with the name on the birth certificate, the name on the driver's license.
Yes.
They identify with all of the systematic conditionings they've been programmed with since they were young.
Living in this superstition, they fall life after life under my sway.
So that's death talking. Living in this superstition, living in this ignorance, they fall life after life on the endless cycle of reincarnation under my sway. Right? That's death talking.
It is but few who hear about the self. Fewer still dedicate their lives to its realization. Wonderful is the one who speaks about the self. Rare are they who make it supreme goal of their lives. Blessed are they who, through an illumined teacher, attain to self-realization.
Right, so very few attain the real self-realization, rising above the ego.
The truth of the self cannot come through one who has not realized that he is the self.
Right, so if you don't realize that you're the actual true self, then you can't attain self-realization.
The intellect cannot reveal the self.
Right, so the self is above the mind. The intellect cannot reveal it.
Nope. Beyond its duality of subject and object, those who see themselves in all and all in them help others through spiritual osmosis to realize the self themselves.
So you have to see yourself in the all and see the all in yourself. You are actually everything, having a sort of illusionary projected experience that you're an individual separate from other things. You are the clothes you're wearing, the ground you're sitting on, this tree behind us, me, the book you're reading. It's all you.
It's all me.
This is how to, he's giving him the boon, he's giving him the secret. Okay, keep reading.
This awakening you have comes out through logic and scholarship, but from close association with the realized teacher. Wise are you, Nachiketa, because you seek the self internal. May we have more seekers like you?
Right, so kind of like how Bobby Hemmett was saying, you are the chosen ones because you're interested in this knowledge. Wise are you, Nachiketa, because you came here searching for this.
Yes.
Remember when his father told him off because he was angry?
Yes.
But he went out searching for something deeper than the fundamentalist, orthodox, conventional religious views that his father raised him with. Okay.
I know that earthly treasures are transient.
Earthly treasures are transient.
And never can I reach the internal through them. Hence have I renounced all my desires for earthly treasures to win the eternal through your instruction.
Right, and then what does death say?
It says, I spread before your eyes Nachiketa, the fulfillment of all worldly desires, power to dominate the earth, delights, celestial gain thought through religious rites, miraculously powers beyond time and space. These with will and wisdom have you renounced.
Right, and you're going to find later in the Upanishads that you don't need to chase these earthly pleasures because you've already fulfilled all of them. We'll get to that later in the Upanishads because you already have experienced everything because you're everything else that's ever lived too. So it's all desires have already been fulfilled. Like how they talk about how we've come here to have this human experience.
Yes.
You've had it all already because you're everyone else. It's complicated to explain. The Upanishads get into that more deper later on.
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
The wise, realizing their meditation, the timeless self, beyond all perception, hidden in the cave of the heart.
Right, so the wise realize through meditation the timeless self, beyond all perception, hidden in the cave of the heart, which is the energy field.
Yes.
All right.
Leave pain and pleasure far behind.
Right, we're leaving pain and pleasure far behind.
Those who know they are neither body nor mind, but the immemorial self, the divine principle of existence, found the source.
Right, you're neither body nor mind. Those are transient sensory experiences that the one, the all, is having, the source, which you could call God. You see, when you come to the self-realization, which is knowing that you're God, this is blasphemy to a religious person. The religious people are forbidden from going into this territory because they're not ready for such knowledge. That's why religious people need to stay in spiritual kindergarten where they belong. Religion is spiritual kindergarten for those who are not ready for higher truth.
Yes. Of all joy and live in joy abiding, I see the gates of joy are opening for you, Nachiketa.
Right.
Right. Teach me of that you see as beyond right and wrong, cause and effect, past and future.
Beyond right and wrong, beyond cause and effect, beyond past and future. We're talking about the higher realms above the physical, above the astral, above the causal. Okay. What does death say? This is death talking.
Death says, I will give you the world of all. I'll give you the world, all the scriptures, glorify all spiritual disciplines, express to attain which aspirants lead a life of sense, restraint and self-nodding.
Right, so death is telling him, I'll give you the understanding of all the scriptures and all the religions.
It is Om.
Om. This is the sound current, the audible sound. This, you can do this in meditation. It taps you into the realms above the astral, above the causal. Go ahead.
The symbol of the Godhead is the highest. Realizing it, one finds complete fulfillment of all one's longings.
Right, so realizing this, you're going to find complete fulfillment in all your longings.
It is of the greatest support to all seekers when Om reverberates unceasingly within the heart, that one is indeed blessed and deeply loved as one who is the self.
Right.
The all-knowing self was never born, nor will it die.
The all-knowing self was never born. What does it say in the Quran? Allah begets not, nor is he begotten. Lam yalid walam yulid walam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Right? If I'm quoting that right, the Arabic surah, the ayat. Right? Your higher self is Allah.
Yes.
Right? Stay away from goofy orthodox fundamentalist religious people who won't allow you to believe such a thing.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And then beyond cause and effect, the self is eternal and immutable. When the body dies, the self does not die. If the slayer believes that he can kill, or the slain believes that he can be killed, neither knows the truth. The eternal self slays not, nor is ever slain.
So you know how in the ancient Egyptian book of the dead, when it says the heart will be weighed on the scale against the feather, if the heart is heavier, it's hell. If the feather's heavier, it's heaven. So your heart has to be lighter than a feather. That has to do with being able to let go. Nothing can weigh on your heart. You have to understand in the 42 negative confessions in the Egyptian book of the dead, I have not done any of these things. I have not stolen. I have not killed. I have not coveted thy neighbor's wife. I have not polluted the water. The ego may have done these things, but the higher self has never done any of these things.
No.
Your higher self isn't sitting here reading this book right now. It says, if the slayer believes he can kill, or the slain believes that he can be killed, neither knows the truth. All right, go ahead.
Hidden in the heart of every creature exists the self, subtler than the subtlest.
Right, so hidden in the heart of every creature, every frog, every bird, every bee, right, is the high self.
Right.
Right.
Greater than the greatest, they go beyond all sorrow, who extinguish their self will and behold the glory of the self through the grace of the Lord of love.
It's love, it's pure love.
Though one sits in meditation in a particular place, the self within can exercise his influence far away, though still he moves everything everywhere. When the wise realize the self, formless in the midst of forms, changeless in the midst of change, omnipresent and supreme, they go beyond sorrow.
Right.
The self cannot be known through study of the scriptures.
The self cannot be known through the study of the scriptures.
Nor through the intellect.
Nor through the intellect, or what we consider science in modern times.
Yep. Nor through hearing discourses about it.
Nor through listening to conversations about it. But certain knowledge can tell you what to do to get there, which is what we're reading. All right, go ahead.
The self can be attained only by those whom the self chooses. Verify unto them does the self reveal himself. Right,
so it's your higher self choosing you to know this about yourself. So if you're interested in this knowledge, if you're pursuing this wisdom, that's God guiding you, which is your higher self, guiding you back to you. Are you getting it?
Yes.
All right.
The self cannot be known by anyone who decease not from unrighteous ways, controls not the senses, stills not the minds, and practices not meditation.
So these are the ways to get there, right? What you just read, that's how you attain this realization.
Yes. None else can know the omnipresent self, whose glory sweeps away the rituals of the priest and the powers of the warrior, and puts death itself to death.
Puts death itself to death. Remember in the Necronomicon, with strange eons, even death may die. Death itself is put to death.
In the secret cave of the hearts, two are seated by life's fountain. The separate ego drinks off of the sweats and bitter stuff, like sweets and bitter stuff, liking the sweets, disliking the bitter. While the supreme self drinks sweets and bitter, neither liking this nor disliking that. The ego gropes in darkness, while the self lives in light. So declared the illumined sages and the householders who worship the sacred fire in the name of the Lord. May we light the fire that burns out the ego and enables us to pass from fearful fragmentation to fearless fullness in the changeless whole. Know the self as Lord of the chariot, the body as the chariot itself, the discriminating intellect as the charioteer, and the mind as reins. The sense say the wise are the horses. Selfish desires are the roads they travel when the self is confused with the body. Minds and senses, they point out, he seems to enjoy pleasure and suffers sorrow.
So when you think you're the ego, when you think that you are the body, mind, and senses, your higher self is just saying, your higher self, which is the universe, is just saying, well, I guess he enjoys pleasures, and I guess he also enjoys suffering and sorrow too. That's what he seems to want.
Yep.
Because that's what he's identifying with.
Yep. When a person lacks discrimination and his mind is undisciplined, the senses run hither and thither like wild horses. But they obey the rein like trained horses. When one has discrimination and has made the mind one-pointed, those who lack discrimination with little control over their thoughts are far from pure.
They're caught up in the world of materiality.
Reach not the pure state of immortality, but wander from death to death. But those who have discrimination with a still mind and a pure heart reach journey's end, never again to fall into the jaws of death.
So it's all about perspective. This is how you get off the wheel of reincarnation, to no longer be recycled over and over again.
Yep.
What they call the wheel of 84. Reincarnation is hell. That's what hell actually is. Imagine having to do this all over again.
I know, right?
Potty train all over again. Go to school
Right.
all over again. Learn to read and write all over again. Get a job and pay bills all over again. Your soul's eventually going to get sick of it. Eventually, you're going to find your way back home.
Yes.
But we're studying this wisdom to get there faster.
With a discriminating intellect as charioteer and a trained mind as reins, they attain the supreme goal of life, to be united with the Lord of love.
Right.
Right. The senses derive from objects of sense perception, sense objects from mind, mind from intellect, and intellect from ego and undifferentiated consciousness, and consciousness from Brahman. Brahman is the first cause and last refuge. Brahman, the hidden self in everyone, does not shine forth. He is revealed only to those who keep their minds one-pointed on the Lord of love, and thus develop a superconscious manner of knowing. Meditation enables them to go deeper and deeper into consciousness, from the world of words to the world of thoughts, then beyond thought to wisdom in the self. Get up, wake up, seek the guidance of an illumined teacher, and realize the self sharp like a razor's edge. The sage say, is the past difficult to traverse?
Right. Tapping into that higher realm, that soul realm. It's difficult to traverse, but you can get there.
The supreme self is beyond name and form, beyond the senses, inexhaustible, without being, without ends, without beginning, without ends, beyond time, space, and causality, eternal.
Right. That's what the supreme self is, beyond all of those things. It's eternal.
And then immutable.
Immutable.
Those who realize the self are forever free from the jaws of death.
Right.
The wise who gain experiential knowledge of this timeless tale of Nachiketa, narrated by death, obtain the glory of living in spiritual awareness. Those who, full of devotion, recite this supreme mystery as a spiritual gathering, are fit for eternal life. They are indeed fit for eternal life.
Right.
Right. The self-existent Lord is the Lord pierced the senses to turn outward. Thus we look to the world without an see not the self within us.
Right.
A sage withdrew his senses from the worlds of change and seeking immortality. Looked within and beheld the deathless self.
Right.
The immature run after sense pleasures and fall into the widespread net of death.
The immature, meaning souls that are not really developed, or those who are actually mentally dead themselves, they pursue the transient things of life, like material gain. They're actually caught up in the net of death, it says.
Yes.
Right. So, let them do the worldly things that they want to do. Because
Yes.
everyone's on their journey where they need to be. Everyone's going to learn what they need to learn. All right.
But the wise, knowing the self as deathless, seek not the changeless in the world of change, that through which one enjoys from taste, smell, sounds, touch, and sexual union is the self. Can there be anything not know of to that? Who is the one and all? No one, no all. That through which one enjoys the walking and sleeping states is the self. To note that as consciousness is to go beyond sorrow, those who know the self as enjoyer of the honey from the flowers of the senses, ever present within ruler of time, go beyond fear, for this self is supreme.
So the ego is a vessel for the higher self to experience and enjoy. The ego experiences through the higher self. The higher self experiences through the ego, vice versa. Right? This is a vessel to experience. Right? God is having every experience. It's one God experiencing itself as separate egos.
Yes.
Okay, keep going.
The God of creation, Brahma, born of the Godhead through meditation.
The pineal gland through meditation, vitality. You tap into Brahma.
Before the waters of life were created, who stands in the heart of every creature.
That's the primordial water. In Genesis, in the beginning, the Spirit of God hovered over the waters of the deep.
Is the self indeed, for this self is supreme.
You must be born again of the Spirit, which is the sound current, the Om. In the beginning, there was the Word. The Word is, it's not like a word like you think of a word, like we're talking. Like some religious person is going to say, well, in the beginning, there was the Word. That means that there was God's Word, which is the Bible. They don't know what they're talking about.
They don't.
The Word is the audible sound current, which was in the beginning, the Om. It's the source of all creation, right?
Yes, and the goddess of energy, Aditi, born of Godhead through vitality, mother of all the cosmic forces, who stands in the hearts of every creature, is the self indeed, for this self is supreme.
The divine feminine who birthed everything, and that not like a human woman as we think of it, but divine feminine energy that birthed everything.
Yes.
This is the higher self. Okay.
The god of fire,
Creation.
Agni, hidden between two fire sticks, like a child well protected.
Right. Hidden between the two fire sticks, the pineal gland. Right. It's between two hemispheres. Right.
Right.
That's Lucifer, the light bearer.
Yes.
Okay.
In the mother's womb, whom we adore every day in the depths of meditation, is the self indeed. And for this self is supreme. Right.
The pineal, is also a god. This is how we tap into the self. We go beyond the physical, which is thus eternal.
Yes. That which is the source of the sun and of every power in the cosmos, beyond which there is neither going nor coming, is the self indeed. For this self is supreme.
Right, meaning there is nothing more absolute than it.
What is here is also there. What is there also here, who seems multiplicity,
Who sees multiplicity,
but not the invisible self.
but sees multiplicity, but not the one indivisible self. That's someone who's caught up in the ego. They go astray.
Must wander on and on from death to death.
So someone like that must wander on and on from death to death. That's the cycle of the wheel of 84. They're stuck in the matrix.
Yep.
Because they think that they are something separate from everything else.
Yes.
Right.
Only the one-pointed mind attains this state of unity. There is no one but the self who sees multiplicity, but not the one indivisible self. Must wander on and on from death to death, that thumb-sized being enshrined in the heart, ruler of time, past and future. To see him is to go beyond all fear, to the self indeed, for this self is supreme.
Right, so the ego has to lose all fear. It's just one drop of the great ocean, which is the divine all.
Yes.
Right. Remember, the heartbeat is a mystery to contemporary modern science. It's a field. The heart is not just like a muscle in your chest that pumps blood. It's way more than, it's an energy field, which contains a lot of information. All right.
That thumb-sized being, a flame without smoke, ruler of time, past and future. The same on this day as on tomorrow is the self indeed, for this self is supreme. As the rain on a mountain peak runs off the slopes on all sides, so those who see only the seeming multiplicity of life run after things on every side. As pure water poured into pure water becomes the very same, so does the self of the illumined man or woman, Nachiketa, verily became one with the Godhead.
Right.
Right.
Through meditation. This is key.
There is a city with 11 gates, of which the ruler is the unborn self, whose light forever shines. They go beyond sorrow, they who meditate on the self and are freed from the cycle of birth and death, for this self is supreme. The self is the sun shining in the sky, the wind blowing in space. He is the fire at the altar, and in the home the guest. He dwells in human beings, in gods, in truth, and in vast firmaments. He is the fish born in water, the plant growing in the earth, the river flowing down from the mountain, for this self is supreme.
The self is everything.
The adorable one who is seated in the heart rules the breath of life. Unto him of all the senses pay their homage. When the dweller in the body breaks out in freedom from the bonds of flesh, what remains for the self is supreme. We live not by the breath that flows in and flows out, but by him who causes the breath to flow in and flow out.
This force is eternal.
Now, O Nachiketa, I will tell you of this unseen eternal Brahman, and what befalls the self after death.
Okay, what befalls the self after death?
What happens is that of those unaware of the self, some are born as embodied creatures, while others remain in a lower stage of evolution, as determined by their own need for growth. Everyone is where they need to be. That which is awake, even in our sleep, giving form in dreams to the objects of sense craving, that indeed is pure light, Brahman, the immortal, who contains all the cosmos and beyond, whom none can go, for this self is supreme.
Eternal qualities. You know, the soul doesn't sleep like we do.
No.
Right?
No.
Dreaming's, that's an astral thing.
That is.
Astral has to do with the stars, astronomy, astrology. You know, the stars influence the feelings and emotions. This is why horoscopes are given. You know, because your feelings and emotions are influenced by the cosmos. The feelings, your dreams are your feelings and emotions taking on a form of physical expression within the mind.
Yes.
Right. So when you're dreaming, you're in this star or astral influenced realm. Right. So dreams are in the astral realm, which is only above the physical. Okay.
Okay. As the same fire assumes different shapes when it consumes objects differing in shape, so does the one self take the shape of every creature in whom he is present. As the same air assumes different shapes when it enters objects differing in shape, so does the one self take the shape of every creature in whom he is present. He is present.
You get it? The oversoul, the self, is taking the form of every creature present from the highest realm.
As the sun, who is the eye of the world, cannot be tainted by the defects in our eyes or by the objects it looks on, so the one self dwelling in all cannot be tainted by the by the evils of the world, for this self transcends all.
Right.
The ruler supreme inner self of all multiplies his oneness into many.
Multiplies his oneness into many. This is the stage show that we're experiencing.
Eternal joy is theirs, who see the self in their own hearts. To none else does it come. Changeless amidst the things that pass away, pure consciousness in all who are conscious. The one answers the prayers of many. Eternal peace is theirs, who see the self in their own hearts. To none else does it come.
Right.
How can I know that blissful self supreme, inexpressible, realized by the wise? Is he the light, or does he reflect light?
Is he the light, or does he reflect light? Is he consciousness itself, or does he use consciousness? This is the question. Okay, what is death going to tell him? What is Yama's answer to this question?
Yama's answer is, there shines not the sun, neither moon, nor star, nor flash of lightning, nor fire lit on earth. The self is the light reflected by all. He's shining, everything shines after him.
It's within you. When you perceive such lights, they're reflecting you, which is eternal.
Yes.
The self exists before any of those perceptions can exist, such as light, the lights you see.
The tree of eternity has its roots above and its branches on earth below.
Right. There's the Kabbalah, then the Qliphoth, the tree above, the tree below, the tree below, the tree above.
Yes. And its pure root is Brahman, the immortal, from whom all the worlds draw their life, and whom none can be transcend. For this self is supreme. The cosmos comes forth from Brahman and moves in him. With his power it reverberates like thunder crashing in the sky. Those who realize him pass beyond the sway of death.
It's all from you.
In fear of him, fire burns. In fear of him, the sun shines. The clouds rain, and the winds blow. In fear of him, death stalks about to kill. In one fails to realize Brahman is in this life before the physical sheath is shed. He must again put on a body in the world of embodied creatures.
Right, so to not realize, to not know this, to not have gnosis of this causes reincarnation. Remember the scale in ancient Chem, the heart being weighed against the feather. Okay, the ultimate, which is?
Brahman, can be seen as in a mirror, in a pure heart, in the world of the ancestors as in a dream, in the
It's the Indian word.
Gandharva world as the reflections in trembling waters, and clear as lights in the realm of Brahma. knowing the senses to be separate from the self, and the sense of experience to be fleeting, the wise grieve no more.
Right.
Above the senses is the mind, above the mind is the intellect, above that is the ego, and above the ego is the unmanifested cause, and beyond is Brahman, omnipresent, attributeless. Realizing him, one is released from the cycle of birth and death.
So you have to ascend up, right? So you have to above the physical, above the astral, above the causal, above the mental, above the ethereal, right? It says above the senses is the mind, above the mind is the intellect, above that is the ego, above the ego is the unmanifested cause. All right, go ahead.
He is formless and can never be seen with these two eyes, but he reveals himself in the heart made pure through meditation and sense restraint.
Fasting, sense restraint.
Realizing him, one is released from the cycle of birth and death.
Right.
When the five senses are stilled, when the mind is stilled, when the intellect is stilled, that is called the highest state by the wise.
Right. So this is what you have to do when the senses are stilled, when the mind is stilled, when the intellect is stilled. Meditation.
They say yoga is the complete stillness in which one enters the unitive state, never to become separate again. If one is not established in this state, the sense of unity will come and go. The unitive state cannot be attained through words or thoughts or through the eye. How can it be attained except through one? Who is established in the state oneself?
Right. There's the oversoul, then there's the ego. So you read right here.
There are two selves, the separate ego and the invisible Atman, indivisible Atman. When one rises above I and me and mine, the Atman is revealed as one's real self.
So you got to rise above the I, the me, and the mine.
When all desires that surge in the heart are renounced, the mortal becomes immortal. When all the knots that strangle the hearts are loosened, the mortal becomes immortal. This sums up the teaching of the scriptures.
This sums up the teachings of the religions, of the scriptures. This is what it's ultimately to attain, even though for religious people it's given in parables on a kindergarten level. Okay.
From the hearts there radiates 101 vital tracts. One of them rises.
The chakras. The heart is an energy field.
To the crown of the head.
To the crown.
This way leads to immortality, the others to death. The Lord of love, not larger than the thumb, is ever enshrined in the hearts of all. Draw him clear out of the physical sheath, as one draws the stalk from the munja grass. Know that the self to be pure and immortal. Know the self to be pure and immortal.
Right.
Immortal. And the narrator says, Nachiketa learned from the king of death the whole discipline of meditation, freeing himself from all separateness.
Right.
He won immortality in Brahman. So blessed is everyone who knows the self.
Know thyself. Peace.
Peace.